Welcome to the gathering.
Things aren't working, and we are currently witnessing the collapse of all of our major institutions. Consider the two major functions of our government: protection from war and the protection of our freedom and safety at home. Currently, the United States is actively involved in three major war zones in Ukraine, the Middle East, and Taiwan, each of which is escalating dangerously. Vladimir Putin threatens nuclear strikes against Ukraine and declares that NATO is now at war with Russia. Too many see these statements as empty threats, but with continued Ukrainian victories and growing restlessness among the Russian people, it may get to a point where he has no choice in order to maintain power. In the Middle East, Israel, with good reason, has stepped up its attacks against Hezbollah in southern Jordan. Whereas in the past it exacted tit-for-tat or equivalent attacks for attacks against Israel, it now has an aggressive policy of continual preemptive strikes on a scale that grows each day. Its armed forces are now clearly on a war footing, and each day increases the level of aggression. China has increased its defense spending to 7.2% of GDP, and is committed to taking over Taiwan. The United States, Canada, and Japan, Australia, and New Zealand all have defense treaties with Taiwan, promising a world war if the island is invaded. Meanwhile, the United States spends less than 3% of its gross domestic product on defense. Its stockpiles of munitions are sadly depleted from sending arms to other nations, and the majority of military experts have concluded that the United States is simply not prepared for an all-out war. Clearly, we and our children are at risk as the government fails in its first duty to protecting us from war. At home, things are no better regarding our safety and freedom. 3 assassination attempts against a presidential candidate clearly show the government's ineptness at protecting one of our most prominent citizens. Meanwhile, imported gangs of illegal immigrants flood our streets, raising the crime rates in our major cities. Our civil liberties are no better off. Rampant lawfare is the norm, with more and more citizens prosecuted for beliefs that push against the regime's toxic ideology. Catholics who demonstrate against late-term abortion are put on terrorist watch lists. One presidential candidate declares that speech is no longer protected when it disagrees with the administration's talking points, and Jewish students are silenced, kept from class, and even assaulted for simply being Jewish. Our major universities have turned into indoctrination centers and failed to teach their students how to think or learn. Wherever the government seeks to intervene in our lives, it only makes things worse. In blue states, 40% of students fail to perform at grade level in reading and math. Social Security, the economic lifeline of the aged, is about to go into bankruptcy. Given all of this, there is real cause for alarm. At the same time, there is no need for despair. The times of greatest stress, when systems collapse, are also the times of greatest opportunity to build new systems better suited to our needs. But in order to seize these opportunities, we must act in new ways. It will not be easy, but it will be effective in solving these problems. In order to create new solutions and new institutions, it will take 3 essential elements: courage, engagement, and innovation. The first, courage, means facing evil and incompetence at every turn. Complaining does nothing, which brings us to our second element, engagement. We have to become actively engaged in solving the problem. And third, we must be innovative. Most collapsing systems cannot be reformed. Some can, but we must also find new ways of solving problems. Let's look at education, where there are 2 citizen groups that are literally implementing effective solutions on a wide-scale basis. The first is Moms for Liberty, who fight for effective education for their children. They do so by working tirelessly in school board elections, replacing ideological board members with members that will implement effective basic education programs without leftist ideology and toxic sexual education. The second private solution is the school voucher program. In 2023, 10 states implemented these programs, and 32 other states and the District of Columbia have vouchers or other types of public funding for school choice. These examples show that the critical public problem of primary and secondary education can be solved using courage, engagement, and innovation. In terms of personal security, organizations such as the Community Security Services and Secure Community Network effectively organize and train citizen volunteers to protect their communities. Organizations such as these continue to grow. There is also the issue of effective public demonstrations that can be used for different issues like local security or national security. For example, New York currently has a population of about 8.3 million people, with a police force of 40,000. If 0.25% of the population demonstrated, that's over 200,000 people, there would be no way for the police to end it, and public officials would be forced to respond. Finally, there is the issue of self-selection, or using Matthew Henderson's term, go to where you're treated best. Millions are moving from blue states to red states, where the streets are safer, the schools are better, and job opportunities continue to grow as companies move in. These are only a few examples of how powerful small groups of individuals can be when they have courage, engage, and are innovative. There is so much that all of us can do. Remember, never rely on the government. Rely on yourself, your friends, and your community. Remember, the framers of the Constitution didn't give us these corrupt and inept institutions. That came later when elites thought they could tell us how to live our lives. What our founding fathers gave us was a framework and a set of good rules so that we could work out these problems for ourselves. The good news is that it's up to us. Will you join us? For The Gathering, I'm Leonardo Radomile.
Thanks for listening, and if you like what you heard, give us a quick thumbs up and subscribe. To learn more about The Gathering and our free course, check out our webpage. You'll find the link below.